Rain drummed against the pavement, turning the empty streets into shimmering rivers under the flicker of streetlights. Ethan stepped out of the garage, wiping grease from his hands onto his already stained coveralls. Another long shift done. His back ached, and all he wanted was to collapse into bed before his daughter woke for school in the morning. As he pulled his jacket tighter against the cold, he noticed a figure swaying unsteadily across the street. It was Melissa, his boss. Usually sharp, confident, and intimidating at work, she now looked fragile, clutching her purse like it was the only thing keeping her upright. Her makeup was smudged, her eyes unfocused. She glanced around as if searching for someone, but the sidewalk was empty. No friends. No ride. Just her, standing in the rain. Ethan hesitated. It wasn't his problem. But then he thought of his daughter, of the way he'd want someone to look out for her if she were lost or vulnerable. He sighed and crossed the street. "Melissa," he called gently. She blinked at him, surprised. "Let me give you a ride home." She mumbled something about being fine, but when she tried to take a step, her knees buckled slightly. Without another word, he guided her toward his old pickup, opening the door for her. The drive was quiet, rain pattering on the windshield. When they reached her place, he made sure she got inside safely before heading home himself, wet, tired, but oddly at peace. Morning sunlight crept through the thin curtains of Ethan's small apartment, but it didn't bring warmth. The chill in the room was matched only by the worry gnawing at his chest. He could hear Lily coughing softly from her bedroom, a sound that had grown more frequent over the past few days. She was pale and tired, but when he peeked in, she greeted him with a sleepy smile that made his heart ache. He wanted to take her to the doctor, but the numbers in his bank account left no room for that. Missing work wasn't an option either. Every shift mattered. Still, he pushed his fears aside, forcing a grin. "Pancakes today," he announced, trying to make it sound like a celebration. In the tiny kitchen, the smell of sizzling batter filled the air. Lily sat at the table, sketching with crayons, her cough breaking through now and then. Ethan flipped the pancakes with a practiced hand, his mind drifting back to Friday night. He remembered Melissa standing in the rain, how vulnerable she looked, so different from the confident woman who ran the garage. He hadn't expected anything from helping her. That's just how he was raised, you step up when someone needs it, no matter who they are. But now, with his daughter's cough echoing in the background, he wondered if life ever paid that kindness back. He set the pancakes in front of Lily, ruffling her hair. She grinned up at him, and for a moment, that was enough to keep him going. Monday came too soon. The weekend had passed in a blur of work, worry, and tending to Lily, whose cough still lingered. Ethan walked into the garage with his usual quiet determination, expecting nothing more than another day of grease, engines, and the low hum of tools. He was already planning how to stretch the week's grocery budget when a voice called from behind him. "Ethan, can you step into my office?" It was Melissa. Her tone wasn't sharp like usual, it was softer, almost hesitant. He followed her in, wondering if this was about Friday night. She gestured for him to sit, then leaned forward on her desk. "I remember everything," she said simply. "You didn't have to drive me home. You could have left me there, but you didn't. You made sure I was safe." Ethan shrugged lightly. It was the right thing to do. She opened a drawer and slid an envelope toward him. Confused, he picked it up and peeked inside. His breath caught. It was paperwork for a full year of paid health insurance for him and Lily, along with a letter confirming a raise. "I know what it's like to need help," Melissa said, her voice wavering. "Someone once did the same for me when I had nothing. I've been waiting for the right moment to return that kindness. Friday night, you gave me that moment." Ethan sat there, stunned. For the first time in a long while, the weight on his shoulders felt just a little lighter. Ethan stared at her, unsure what to say. Melissa leaned back in her chair, her eyes drifting toward the window as if she were looking at a memory only she could see. Years ago, she began softly, I was barely holding it together. My life was a mess, no money, no family close by, no one I could really count on. One night, I ended up stranded in the middle of nowhere. A stranger pulled over, helped me get home, and refused to take anything in return. He told me, one day, you'll pass it on to someone who needs it. I never forgot those words. Her voice thickened with emotion as she turned back to him. Friday night, when you helped me, I saw that same kindness in you. You didn't see a drunk boss you could ignore, you saw a human being who needed help. And that's rare, Ethan. Too rare. He swallowed hard, the lump in his throat growing. He'd spent so long just surviving, never expecting anyone to notice the small things he did. Melissa smiled faintly. You've been carrying more than you should, and you never once complained. This, she nodded toward the envelope, isn't charity. It's respect. It's gratitude. And it's my way of keeping that promise I made years ago. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The steady hum of the garage outside faded, replaced by a quiet understanding between them, one born from compassion, not obligation. Ethan realized then that sometimes, kindness doesn't just come back. It finds you when you need it most. That night, the apartment felt different, not bigger, not brighter, but lighter, as if a heavy shadow had finally lifted. Ethan stood by Lily's bed, watching her breathe softly in her sleep. The envelope from earlier lay on the kitchen counter, its promise still almost too good to believe. For the first time in years, he didn't feel like the future was a cliff he was about to fall from. He knelt beside her and gently brushed a strand of hair from her face. She stirred, her eyes blinking open just enough to see him smiling. "Daddy, why are you happy?" she whispered, her voice still raspy from the cough. Ethan's chest tightened. "Because," he said quietly, "sometimes, when you do good for someone, the world finds a way to send that good back to you." She gave a tiny smile before drifting back to sleep, her small hand resting in his. Ethan sat there for a long while, letting the moment sink in. All the late nights, the sacrifices, the exhaustion, it all felt worth it. Outside, the city moved on as it always did, but inside that little apartment, hope had found a home again. And Ethan knew that, just like Melissa, he'd carry this kindness with him until the day he could pass it on to someone else. In that quiet moment, he realized, life wasn't just about getting through each day. It was about the people who make the journey lighter, one act of compassion at a time.